I am your host, Kemi Amin, and this is Who Are You? A podcast on purpose. Join me for conversations with people near and far about how they are finding their way, with one simple yet complex question. Who are you?
Fredia, funny gal, fashion model, fairy godmother.
Episode 9. In this conversation, I had the pleasure of speaking with stand-up comedian, writer, actor, fashion model, and animation enthusiast Fredia Lucas. Born in Richmond, California, and raised in the Greater Bay Area, Fredia took her talents to New York City to study at New York University. She returned to the Bay Area post-grad, and now Fredia is a multi-hyphenated entertainer, inviting us into her world through comedy and good taste. I first learned about Fredia through the popular podcast, It's a Look, where she and her co-host, Jenna Dominique, share their truths and have candid interviews with local creatives for a global audience. Fredia has since self-produced the hit one-woman comedy show called F is for Fredia. In addition to her comedic pursuits, you can find her witty and fun commentary on Fictional, her blog and newsletter dedicated to animation history and cartoon news. Enjoy my conversation with Fredia Lucas. I want to find out how you're doing today.
Okay. Well, today was great. I woke up, had a glass of water. I'm actually not going to say I'm bad at this. I'm working to get better at doing my laundry on a more frequent basis.
Oh.
And so I'm currently in the using this weekend to do what is perhaps 1 month's worth of laundry.
Oh, that's the thing. Yes.
And, I was talking to my man, and he was like, do you have OCD? Because, and I don't. I would say no, because I'm familiar with OCD and what it really means. But why he said that was because I'm very particular about my piles. And he was like, pinks and reds can go together. I'm like, no, because pink is pink and red is red. And he was like, babe. He's like,
that's
babe.
So funny.
So I'm on load number 7 of what probably is 20 different loads of different colors. He's like, babe, I'm concerned mostly because I'm concerned that you're wasting water. So I actually need to look into that to make sure that I'm not wasting water.
Sure. All right. But do you have the washer dryer in unit, or do you have to go to the laundromat?
It's in the crib.
So that's why.
Yeah, it's a privilege. Like we live in.
You dwindle that down. You have to walk the block.
When I lived in New York and I didn't have it in unit and I had to walk my ass to the laundromat, there were no piles. There were no piles. There were just clothes is dirty and some clothes is clean. So that it's a luxury and it's a privilege. So
yes.
Thank you for reminding me.
Oh no, I love the bougie laundress life. One day soon I will be there.
I want to get to the level where I just send out my clothes.
Yeah.
I just send them out and then they come back. They're already clean. We're not there yet. That's time to level. But how are you this morning? How's your morning?
I'm good. I'm actually on vacation from work this week, so that's been really good. I've needed it. So I'm actually really happy to be here and talking to you. So yeah, I'm good. Thanks for asking. And like with the quarantine life, how have you been coping with, have you been coping or have you been thriving in quarantine life?
I would say I've been thriving in quarantine life.
Mm-hmm.
It was really beneficial to be able to release this content and have it already ready for the month of July. And starting in January, I had made the decision to just solely focus on my own work. So I've been working with other organizations and with other partners, and I was just like, you know what, everyone, like, I've loved working with you. A lot of these people I've been working with for like 3 or 4 years. And I was like, I'm just going to focus on what I want to focus on. So from January until July, I was working on this release. And it's fascinating that at the time when I, in January, said that I'm going to stop slow down and focus, the world was like, we gonna stop, slow down, and focus. So I felt really aligned with the universe. Like, cause I was like, I don't need to be going out, can't go out. I don't need to be doing all these other things that aren't related to my own body of work. And the universe was like, yeah, all those things are done. You can't even go do them anymore.
Yep.
So I feel like I'm thriving, and now I'm at the point where I want to begin to be out in the world to like audition and network with people in the industry. And now I'm working to figure out, okay, well, how can I do that from the comfort of my own home? Mm-hmm. I will say though, I love being at home like any day of the week. So the fact that now the whole world is being pushed to be at home, I'm like, oh, welcome to my world.
Oh, yes.
I love being here. I love being at home. Like, being able to take this call at home is such a blessing, because traveling really, it's work. It's mental work as well. Preparing to travel, preparing to leave your house, leave the safety of your own home to go and do things. And so it is nice to be able to do it, especially new things, at least for me, from home. On the flip side, though, there are other things that are not fun to do at home, or like that I don't know how I would do them at home. Like, I really want to take more improv classes, and I don't know how I feel about doing improv online.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. There's at my employer's space, they have an improv club, and the people have been doing it online. And I was like, how does that work? But they have all these Instagram pictures where they're just like, dude, like frozen in place. And I just wonder what that all looks like in motion. So yeah.
I'm at the point where I have to try it before I knock it. So I should go and try a class for real.
Yeah, you totally should. That'll be like the baby step to the real deal.
Well, the only reason I'm open to it is because I watched this music video.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with Chloe and Halle?
Yes. Yes.
Did you see this Zoom video or like recorded video? And it's of dancers, and they're dancing choreographed dance to their song Baby Girl, and it looks fantastic.
Really? I have not seen that yet. I've seen their like Grown and Sexy, their like lightweight S&M video that they had.
Oh, Forgive Me?
Yeah. I think that's what it was. Yeah.
I love that song.
Yeah, they're so cute. I love them. Yes.
I'm like, okay, man, you can do dope things over Zoom. I mean, look at us now. So I think
totally.
I need to look into those.
Yeah. You know, I always believe with limitation comes innovation. So
say that one more time.
With limitation comes innovation.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
Yeah, I believe in you. I'm sure you will make it happen. And I'm actually curious about Ashley and Fredia. Mm-hmm. Who are they? How are they alike? How are they similar?
I just say this, Kemi. To start off, you did your research. I love someone who will do the research, because I feel like I make it pretty clear. If you just take a moment to look, you'll be like, what's her name? So I just appreciate you taking the time to get to know me before we are getting to know each other. Ashley Denise Webster is my birth name. It's the name my mother and my father gave me. And Fredia is my stage name.
Mm-hmm.
And Frida's full name is Fredia Lucas. And that is because I wanted to be, and I'm still pushing this idea that I want to be a person that you know only by their first name. So
yeah,
Cher, Jesus.
Just those people.
Not just as an example. I'm not saying I'm Jesus. I'm just saying, people, you say Jesus' first name, people go, I know who you're talking about, right? So, so I wanted, as I was doing more comedy, I wanted to be known as just Fredia. But I also was trying to familiarize myself as Fredia, and like was using it in other places. So most specifically for this story, I was using it for a work purpose. Mm-hmm. Like I was working on a creative project. I wanted the because it was a creative project, I wanted people to know me as Fredia. So I asked my supervisor, my manager, I said, yo, for my email that you're about to make me for this brand, for your brand, can you have it as Fredia? And she was like, no. She's like, your name is Ashley. Ashley has a LinkedIn. And when we're asking people for money and they look to see who's Fredia, she don't have a last name. So I was like, if I come up with a last name for Fredia, will you let me have this email? She was like, okay. So the last name for Fredia is Lucas.
Uh-huh.
And one of my favorite movies is American Gangster with Denzel Washington.
Yes. In
that movie, he plays Frank Lucas. So in my mind, Fredia Lucas is a granddaughter of the Harlem drug dealer, Frank Lucas. I'm very big into mobster movies, and especially Frank Lucas, because although he was selling drugs to the Black community, which I don't condone, I did find it fascinating that he was more successful, more wealthy than some of the Italian white families, and that is the part that I found the most interesting. A Black man who was doing incredible business, incredible numbers.
Right.
Although his business means were of not the purest virtue.
That's great.
Yes, that is one of the many reasons why I am now Fredia on stage.
Okay, got it. Got it. And then maybe I missed it. Ashley is
that's my government name.
That's your government name. So Denise.
Ashley Denise West.
Ashley Denise. I see. Got it. Your government name. So I've exposed you.
The thing is, like, no one is trying to hide.
Yeah.
I don't believe anyone really thinks Lady Gaga's name is Lady Gaga. You just know that her name is.
Definitely.
And for me, it was important as well. Fredia is also my grandmother's name. So the first name, Fredia, is from my grandmother. That is her name. And just growing up, there were so many Ashleys, yo. At least for me, I'm born in 1993. So Ashley was the most popular name that year. I think the only name that was more popular, or even close to that, maybe was Brianna. Okay. I don't know.
I know many of Brianna and Ashley. Yes, this is correct.
Okay. And I was just like, yo, do I want to be Ashley Webster on stage, or do I want to create something that's a bit different from myself? And so far, I think I actually really like it, because I've been watching a lot of like Issa Rae interviews.
Yes.
In a couple of the interviews, she said that people have a difficult time dissociating her from her character on the show because the character's name is her name.
Right.
And so I wonder then, as I move forward in my career, like, will it be helpful to be like, oh yeah, like people who really know me, people who have done extra research will know that my name is Ashley. My mama calls me Ashley.
Yeah.
My daddy called me Ashley. My family, all of them call me Ashley. So.
Sure. But to us, you are Fredia.
Yeah, but on the stage, we Fredia.
Yes, I feel it. I love that so much. And so your sun sign is Cancer. Your moon sign is Leo. What's your rising sign?
I think I'm an Aquarius.
Oh yeah? Okay. I'm not sure exactly what that means, even though I asked the question. But I do know, I think that the moon sign is your emotion, your internal life. Or did I get it flipped? Yeah, and the rising sign is how you present yourself and how the world receives you. And your sun sign, I can't quite remember what that is.
I don't know. Not fun. My interpretation of it, when you first meet me, you'll see my Cancer side.
Yeah.
Which is, I seemingly seem rather reserved and quiet.
Mm-hmm.
How I actually am is I'm a lion.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm comfortable enough with you, first of all, you only get to the lion's den if you're another lion. Okay, ain't no penguins walking into the lion's den.
No penguins. That's
ain't hilarious. No penguins walking. So I feel like if you get close enough to me, you'll find that I have a rather big personality for the people that I think can handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And I really focus mainly on my Cancer side and my Leo side.
Yeah,
I'm not really familiar with the Aquarius description or how they behave or how that fits in. But I
Mm-hmm.
do think that is my rising sign. But I think, yeah, when people meet me and then they're like, oh, you're a comedian, they're like, I'm surprised. And then they spend more time with me, they're like, oh, I'm not actually as surprised.
Yeah. Nice. So which one do you identify the most with?
Cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to be at home. I want to be in my shell. It takes
Yeah.
me a lot of work to. I mean, like I said, it took me an hour to put all this together. But
I love it.
yeah, I like to be by myself. My friends say that I have a shell, that I like put my shell on before I go out into the world, which is true. So I definitely feel like I'm a crab at heart and in soul, and I also love crab. I love seafood.
There you go. There you go. That's so interesting. Yeah, I like to stay inside. I'm a Scorpio, but I am not I'm not a November Scorpio. I feel like I'm an October Scorpio, which I feel like they're definitely different.
When is your birthday?
October 24th.
Oh, my father's
So,
26.
oh really? Oh yay. So like cuspy, Libra, Scorpio. And all love to the November Scorpios, but all the ones I know are a little crazy. So there you go. And so speaking of family, you mentioned, I remember in your comedy show, I think you mentioned that your father, on your father's side or both sides, are from Richmond, California.
My father's father, so my grandfather on my dad's side.
I see. And they've been in Richmond for 60 years. That's a long time. So who came, and do you know why they came?
My grandfather came to Richmond from Monroe, Louisiana, to escape Jim Crow and to pursue work opportunities in California. So what I like to remind people is the idea of Americans having to flee other places in America is not far away, and that we should be more mindful of when people need to flee places to get to a safe space. That's really important because it creates people like me. So for reference, my grandfather was born in 1934 in Monroe, Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
Emmett Till, the young man who was lynched for doing nothing to a white woman, he was born in 1941. He is younger than my grandfather. So my grandfather is an older boy, learns about a younger boy in Mississippi. Mind you, Mississippi and Louisiana are right next to each other.
Correct.
So he's like, wait a second. They lynching younger boys than me? I got to go.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta go. What are you talking about? I gotta go. And so he came to California to work on the shipping yards at the Oakland port. So the Oakland port and the Richmond port were huge places for hiring Black people because they had a lot of work to do. Just too much work on the port to be like, I mean, of course there's discrimination, but it's also like we're gonna pay you a good job. We're gonna pay you more money than you'll be making in Monroe, Louisiana, or even New Orleans, Louisiana. So that's where he came, and he came to Oakland first. He had a brother here when I say here, I mean in the Bay Area in Oakland. And the funny story he used to tell me was that he did not know his brother's address. He just knew the street that he lived on. So I don't know if you've ever been with an older person, but they will stop people and ask for directions. So my grandmother on my mother's side will always just stop people. Excuse me, do you know? Now people nowadays be places and they don't know the streets because they don't really walk the streets.
Right.
Because it's a different time. But at that time, if you stop somebody, where's Broadway? You go that way and to the left and then down and then there you go. So he went to the street that his brother,
I like to call them.
there you go. So he went to the street that his brother lived on, and he was like, "Hey, do you have you heard of my brother? He lives on this street. Can you tell me which direction?" He literally asked people until he found his brother's house.
Wow.
So that is the kind of journey my grandfather went on, like bus to bus, gets off in Oakland, and then has to walk his way to his brother's house.
Wow, that's amazing. And so he eventually finds himself in Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes from the Oakland port to the Richmond, working at the Richmond port, correct?
Goes from working in Oakland to buying a home in Richmond.
I see. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, that whole generation, my partner, his family came from Louisiana as well, on both sides, over to California. And next to Chicago, Bay Area Black folks are definitely like country, right? Because they have those roots. Country cluckers. Definitely, because they have those roots down there. And so the only people I've seen, Black folks I've seen who are just as country, are Chicagoans.
Oh, really?
Oh my God. Like, I remember I dated a guy who was from Chicago, and I was like, why is this full country? Like, what is going on? I thought he was from Chicago. And then I learned about the history of Chicago, and I was like, okay, got it. And he felt Oakland and Southern all at the same time. And it was, so that's amazing. So what was it like growing up in Richmond?
So I would say I grew up all around the Bay Area.
That's right. You did say that.
So, Berkeley, Oakland, Richmond, El Sobrante, Vallejo, Benicia.
Wow.
Yeah, all over. So what was it like growing up in the Bay Area? I didn't appreciate it till I came back and I was older.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. I think the Bay Area, it really reminds me of my grandfather. So like now that my grandfather has passed away, now I find myself wanting to tell all these amazing stories that he's told me. Yeah. But when he was telling them to me, I was like, Grandpa, nobody care. Like, it just dismissive of the history that is being told, like literally to your face. But because it's so close to your face, it's almost like it's distorted. You can't really see it. Mm-hmm. And then when you tell other people from other places, they go, that's amazing. That's so incredible. And that's how I feel about the Bay Area. Yeah. When I went to New York, people said, oh, you're from the Bay? Oh, you guys did this, this, and this. I said, we did? He said, girl, you don't even know your own history. I said, I'm so foolish. Foolish. And it's now in my time in my life where I want to learn even more about the Bay Area. I want to learn even more about Richmond, about my family, about our history, and I want to build here. Mm-hmm. I really want to build here in entertainment specifically. Mm-hmm. I'm trying my very best. Everyone always asks me, oh, so when are you going to move to Los Angeles? I said, I don't want to. I really like to be able to stay here if I can, because there's no reason why there's no reason why this shouldn't be another hub for entertainment. Fashion, modeling, comedy, film, television. I think this place is such a breeding ground for beautiful talent, or why entertainers like to come here so much is because it's not that. It's a place where people appreciate art, but maybe they're not making it all the time, so they don't critique it as hard, perhaps, as a theory, not a fact. But at least for me, I would like it to be a hub, and maybe a hub that is respectful of people, that can pay people, that changes people's lives, especially Black and brown people. You know, I have so many artist friends, and I feel like they deserve better spots than where they're currently living. They deserve dry cleaning too. Okay. So, it was beautiful to grow up in the Bay Area, and it's even more beautiful to be here now in adulthood.
And so you said you came back. Was that to go to New York?
Yeah, I left the Bay Area for 4 years to go to school in New York.
Mm-hmm. You went to NYU, right? And what did you study there?
I studied sports management with a focus in entertainment law. Well, I did take the LSAT, but after I graduated, my focus was studying for the LSAT, taking the LSAT, and then I was going to begin applying for law school.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And so you wanted to be a sports lawyer?
Yeah, I wanted to be Jerry Maguire.
There you go. And what changed that course for you?
I took the LSAT and I had a panic attack.
Well, most people don't pass the first time.
Kemi, listen. So on the LSAT, they put you in like, you sit next to somebody, so it's like 1 and 2. I guess I was erasing my answers so hard that the girl next to me raised her hand and asked me to move to a different table. Okay, that was the first. That was the first indication of this school for me. I'm literally trying to get through this exam, and I'm just like, I don't want to do this. I'm like, is this what my life is gonna be like? More exams? It's like, I don't want to go to school. I didn't even like going to school for the last 4 years. Like,
Yeah.
all of the truth was just coming out. So 2 things on the back of the LSAT, they have an essay. Like I don't remember what the essay is about, but you write something. Like the whole rest of the test is Scantron, but then there's a space for an essay. So on the back of the exam, I wrote a letter to myself. I said, dear self, you are not defined by this exam. Okay? We are gonna figure something else out. So I finished the letter to myself. I felt much better because I like to journal. So I finished that, made myself feel better. Also on the back of the LSAT is a box that you can check to immediately cancel your scores so that nobody ever knows what you got. They don't even like run the numbers on your exam. Yeah. I said, oh, this is here? We're gonna do that. Check. Right? Check. We're gonna do that. So
oh wow.
I passed in the exam. The proctors, for some reason, mind you, there's hella people in the room. So like no one should be looking at my test, but essentially my test could be buried in the middle. It ended up right on the top. It flipped over my exam and I can see them reading my letter. They're like, bring it to the other proctors. They're like, what's going on with this person? What's wrong with this person? I said, this shit not for me. It's not for me. When I was little, my family was like, you can stand in front of people and you can talk well, and you can make a good argument. You should be an attorney.
Yes.
And there, my family needs more attorneys than they need comedians, right? That's just the state of.
That's up for debate, but yeah.
Sure, that's up for debate. I'm glad that you said that. But essentially, there are applicable ways that they saw me using.
Sure.
That degree than in comedy for the family, for the betterment of the family, right? It makes sense. It's a respectable job. It's a high-paying job. Boo, 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 boo. So when you take those attributes of being able to speak well and being able to make a good argument, an argument is just a story. So what you're saying is you're a good storyteller and you're a good public speaker. Those are the same skill sets that I use now as a comedian. And so it took me a long time to transition and figure out what I really wanted to do with my life. Because for the longest, I was like, oh, I'm good at this. Let me be an attorney. Yeah, that's great. Like, yeah, there are cool characters on TV of Black lady attorneys. Oh, like, from Living Single.
Maxine, yes.
Oh, she's bomb. She's bomb.
Oh, yes.
Arguably, she's one of the most bomb characters.
Oh, yeah.
So, there were those examples. But ultimately, it just, Kemi, was not for me.
No, I hear you. And oftentimes that equation of like you being able to debate or like speak in public, you should be a lawyer, and the whole other reading hella stuff that makes no sense side is like not revealed until later.
Until the LSAT.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's so great that you wrote a letter to yourself. How self-aware to do something like that. I would, at that time, I would have not been self-aware enough to like say, I'm going to write a letter to myself. So kudos to you.
It was either that or cry at the table.
Yeah, well, choices. We all have them. And so you finished NYU, you came back to the Bay Area. How did you get into It's a Look? Did you meet Jenna before that or after?
I met Jenna after this revelation of the LSAT.
I see.
And we have a mutual angel, aka a mutual friend. But my friends are angels, so I'm just gonna start calling them angels. So we have a mutual angel, and we met at her, like a party at her crib. And as soon as I met Jenna just exudes all of this light, just positivity, light, love. And it's like, why have I never met you? When you meet a friend's friend and you go, why didn't y'all introduce us?
Yes.
What y'all doing? Y'all hating? That's why you don't want us to meet. So I met her, and for me, when I know I want to be friends with someone, I'm very clear. I'm like, we should be friends. And when I say that to people, I really do follow up. I'm like, we should hang out. Here are all the dates I'm available and the times. And so
I love that.
we just kept hanging out and talking, and we would just have these beautiful conversations. Just very inspiring, very self-aware. I would say Jen and I have that in common, very self-aware, trying to always improve and breathe life into ourselves and to the people that are around us. And we were just like, yo, these conversations are wonderful. We can share this with people. We can share this with people, and also just give us more opportunity to give ourselves a platform to figure out what we want to do. So if I say I want to be a comedian, like, let me have a platform at least where I can try. And from our friendship conversations began the podcast itself. And I think for the last 3 years, we've really just been exploring branding, how we use our voices, the kind of events we want to be a part of, the kind of events we don't want to be a part of. I just really our own platform to learn more about ourselves and create the futures that we really want to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Yeah. And yeah, that's how I found out about you. And I loved what you were doing. And I love that you were talking about upward mobility in a way that wasn't just like superficial, that was meaningful, that combined the art that you do, the passions that you have, with still making some money, and just being able to build wealth for yourselves. And I really appreciate seeing especially young Black people, speaking on that, because I think it's so important. And we some of the young people I've come across just innately undervalue the importance of wealth and building wealth, and not just financial wealth, but just wealth, cultural wealth, relationship wealth. So I really appreciated that about you too.
Thanks for repeating it.
Yeah. And so I'm gonna pull my phone a little closer so my almost 40 eyes can read this. In a daybook review of your recently released comedy special, F is For, you are characterized as, quote, exuding an understated onstage confidence, a vibe so inviting that your subconscious brain might wonder, wait, am I already friends with her? I got the same vibe watching the show. So first, I want to ask, what led you to comedy?
My friends.
Yeah.
The same friend who introduced Jenna and I is also the same friend who had a birthday party. And at that birthday party, before that birthday party, she requested that anyone in attendance perform. She wanted to be a performative birthday. She wanted the gift that we give to her be our own creativity. Then when I say my friends are angels, like, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. So she said this, I'm like, I don't know what to do. Because again, I'm thinking I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
Like, I have done no classical, I've done very little in the art space. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And one of our other friends, who I call my twin sister tells me, yo, you should just, like, you know how you just be telling stories, you just be funny? Why don't you just go up there and just be funny? I said, you want me to just go stand up there and be funny? She said, yeah, that's like the stand-up. I said, you don't just get to do stand-up. Like, you don't just get to do it. It's difficult. It's hard. She's like, just try. And I wrote a story about how I felt at the time. I would have been, like, at that time, 22, 23. Some of my little basic problems, like, I ain't got no money in my bank account. If anybody wants to donate, like, please give me money. And how I knew my friend and what I thought about her. Her parents are there. Like, what do I know about the people there making observations? I don't like to roast people, so I call them just observations. I'm roasting people because roasting to me it can get kind of mean.
Oh yeah.
So I just say, like, how I make them feel or how they make me feel, and then, like, what we mutually agree on. And I think that is pretty funny. Mm-hmm. And everybody loved it. Everybody loved it. And the one thing I remember is when I was performing, and it was only like 5-7 minutes or something. When I was performing, my hands were just shaking the whole time, just shaking. And I was like, just push through, like just keep going. And then when you're done performing, like your hands will probably stop shaking. So we like finish, and I'm sitting there watching other people's performances. My hands are still shaking. And then the performances end and the party begins to close. My hands are still shaking. I'm about to leave. I get in my car. I'm in my car. My hands are still shaking. I'm like, oh, my hands aren't shaking because I was nervous. My hands are shaking because I feel really alive right now.
Yes.
Like my body, my spirit is being awakened. And from there, it's like, oh, I've never felt this way before because I've tried a lot of things. I've had a lot of jobs. I used dog walking. I worked at pizza parlors. I was a hostess. I used to work at a bowling alley. I've done all cheerleading, basketball. I've done all kinds of things. I played the flute. Like I've tried all kinds of things, and not one of them motherfuckers have stuck. Not one. Like not one. And I was like, oh, like me and my twin sister, we always used to say like, oh, maybe we're just like not motivated people. Like maybe we just are people who just aren't passionate about things because nothing sticks. And I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to be passionate about something, where like your skills and your ability match.
Yes.
And the receptiveness from other people, it all matches. It's like, oh, okay. So I started comedy because my friends who observed me and saw me told me that this is something I should try.
I really love that because even though I'm a communications person, I've struggled with public speaking. Like it has been bad for me. Like I eventually I joined Toastmasters to help me with my speaking ability in public. I think that's the Scorpio thing. Don't like to be on, in the front. I like to be in the back. But I would feel myself getting nervous, and I'm like that person who will speak and just like my voice will start to shake if I allow it to like really take a hold of me. And they're like, oh, is she crying? It's like, no, I'm nervous, y'all. And so, I realized that is just energy, right? And it either you can guide that energy towards the nerve or you can guide that energy towards the excitement, right? And so to me, it sounds like what you experienced was this energy that was guided towards the excitement of being there in front of people on stage. And I think that's such a great way of thinking about being in front of people doing something maybe that you haven't done before, where there's an energy that can go either way and how to kind of learn to guide it. So I love that.
I love the way that you put that. I'll also say I would have never guessed that you were not a public speaker because you are killing it over there.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It's been a long journey. But at one point in your special, F is 4, you got a reel about your father's infidelity. And I wanted to know, like, how did it feel sharing that experience and then laughing about it? And then I found out eventually that your father was actually there and your mother, right? What did that feel like? Was there any preparation? Did you prep them before they came to the show?
I told my dad that I was going to talk about that. He said, well, that's what happened. I said, okay. And then my mom was just like, please don't curse. Don't curse. Don't curse. Currently I love to curse. I love it. I find, the episode, there's an episode in the SpongeBob SquarePants series where they use these language enhancements, and it's the sound of a dolphin, but it's essentially curse words.
That is hilarious.
And that's how as I was writing the show, and this ties into, I think, my astrological sign of being a Cancer. So Cancers are very emotional. And I have a theory that if you are a Cancer, you can channel that emotional energy into power that is serving for yourself and serving for other people. So I'm writing the show and I can feel when the emotion is heavy. So I wrote everything on Google Docs. So I would take that sentence or that paragraph and I would put it in blue because it's kind of somber. It's gonna make the audience real quiet.
Interesting.
Because I can feel it when I'm writing it. I'm like, this is making me, I'm typing like this.
Oh
And so I'm like, okay, well, how are we going to pick this up?
Yeah.
Right. So, because the challenge for me is I want to say things that are true, that I think are going to be true for a very long time for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so it needs to be true, but it needs to be uplifting. It needs to, people need to be able to listen to the story and know I don't need you to feel sorry for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay. We're okay. I'm trying to teach you something. I'm not trying to get sympathy. I'm trying to teach you something that I learned, that my family learned, or what have you, to improve your life so that y'all don't have to go through this. We went through this. So I'm like, okay, so what's going to pick people up? If I found something, all right, put that in yellow. That's going to bring it back up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Insert hold for applause here, or hold for laughter here. And the best thing about the show is that worked. That worked. The parts where I thought people were going to be quiet or uncomfortable, they were.
Mm-hmm.
The buzzwords, or the things that I thought were going to bring people back in and energetic and like, okay, we're on this journey together, that worked.
Mm-hmm.
And so seeing that my writing and my emotional capacity to understand how other people feel based off of what I'm doing, because that's, I think, something I'm really pride myself in, knowing how I'm making other people feel.
Yeah.
It's very important for me to know as a person and as a comedian as well. I was like, oh, like, I get my audience. So that was one of the best things. And afterwards, my parents were very proud of me. They were very proud of me. I think in general, a lot of the people who were there had seen me. That was their first time seeing me do comedy. Mm. And that was also the first time I ever performed that story. So some of the smaller bits I workshopped in comedy shows in the Bay Area, but those longer parts about like the segment about my dad's infidelity, that entire story, I never got to perform for anybody. The whole point of the show was for me to prove to myself, you can write well. You can perform in front of a large audience, and the large audience is going to like what you have to say. Yeah. Because I was having a difficult time finding large audiences. It's very different workshopping jokes in front of 5 people and 100 people. Sure. Yeah. So it was really affirming. The entire show is really affirming. And the portion about my dad is still my favorite part of the show. Mm-hmm. My favorite part of the show. I'm so proud of that piece of work. And I'd like to replicate that. Like, I feel like that's the portion of the show that you'll see in future shows for forever. Yeah, yeah. Like a proof of concept, would you say, for you? It affirmed that to keep going? Keep going, and that my style works. Yeah. My style is really not particularly loud. I'm not a particularly loud person. I can use motion, but it's limited motion. I'm not, for example, I don't see myself like pouring a whole bottle of water on my face. I see. So you're not like a physical comedian. I'm not super physical. Yeah. But I do use action to add to the words that I'm saying. Right. And I use a lot of pausing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed that. In the uncomfortable parts, because I literally have to channel this energy, as we were talking about, because I feel it too. Yeah. I'm about to say this next shit. So to me, it's really affirming that my style of comedy resonates with people. And that was really nice to learn. Right. This is so interesting to me. Like a lot of things are coming up for me because in kind of my recent fascination with comedy on a deeper level, looking at like how comedy and drama are paired, how there's like the tragic comedian, and how, you know, some of the more well-known comedians have maybe a tragic personal life, right? Or suffer from depression. There's kind of this ongoing narrative of that. But on the other hand, watching your show, listening to you right now, seeing how you're using comedy as a tool for healing as well, for yourself and then for others, right? And so I really love that, because even when you're kind of revealing your process, that just sounds so healing.
you're like color coding, which is like totally design strategy, design thinking. Totally. And like, you know, you're addressing all of these things on a personal level, thinking about how you're going to, or processing it, right? And then processing it on paper or on screen, and then processing it with other people. Like, what a healing tool.
I'll say everything that you said is spot on, except for the healing was already done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So for me, there are many of stories that I think people can learn from, but I haven't learned the lesson.
Yeah.
So the reason people resonate or connect to the story about my dad or the story about, I don't know, the basketball stuff is those are lived experiences that I've lived through, came to understand, and then I'm regurgitating back to you. So in the color coding, I'm just trying to make sure that it's the most digestible, because sometimes you're talking, you have an understanding of something, but then you say to somebody and they only understand this much of it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get you to understand this lesson, this experience, these emotions. Like, yeah, of course you would be mad at your dad, but like, this is why you don't need to be. And these are the things you need to think about. Like, oh, he was actually a good dad, but he did this one thing. Well, why did he do this one thing? Oh, people make mistakes. What are the options for mistakes? You can forgive people. You can, but how? This is how you can forgive people. You believe in them again. You believe in yourself. So I tell myself not to share stories that aren't already healed from.
Yeah.
So, and I think we've all done this, and I do this off stage. You go and you tell somebody a story, and because it just happened to you, you hot, you fresh, you're mad about it, or you go and tell somebody a story because you want them to know, because it's important information, maybe it's impacting you, but you don't really know how it makes you feel yet. You don't really know what it's doing to you. So then when you're telling the story, then you go back, that you think about it the next day, you go, I have regrets. I have regrets on something that I wasn't even fully healed yet. So now I have two things compounding together that are making me sad. I don't want to be sad. So yeah, it's super important to heal first for me to heal first from those stories. This thing with my dad happened 2014. Performed this 5 years later. I mean, I think a real world example, and I use celebrities because people will be knowing celebrities, but we didn't know what was happening with Beyonce and Jay-Z until years after. We did not know, because it took her some time to figure out, well, what the heck happened to me? How did I get here? And I think that's an important part of healing, is to figure out, how did you get here? And how did it make you feel? How did it change you forever?
Yep. I hear you. No, that's great. It just really dawned on me, like, just growing up, I know that me and my sisters used laughter to heal through a lot of things. And just that process. And I really love that you make it a point to heal before you perform that experience. So that resonated with me very much on your show. Also, it also felt like it was a comedy show that felt like a monologue as well, which I loved. It felt very theatrical. It felt like a theater show, a woman show, which I was really feeling. And so you have this like dichotomy of like comedy, life experience expressed, through one show. So I really appreciated that. And you self-produced F is 4. How? Please tell the people.
Let's see. We was on our Spike Lee shit. We maxed out 2 credit cards. But full transparency, I work a minimum wage job. I won't go into the details of what I do, but I work a minimum wage job. Minimum wage in California is what, $15 or something? So every time a new expense would come, I would go, okay, well, we don't have a savings account, so we just take it from the checking, and then we gonna eat Wendy's. We're gonna eat Wendy's until the next paycheck comes in. Oh, there's a new expense. Okay. My biggest thing with this project is I'm getting to the point where to me, it's unacceptable not to pay people. It's just unacceptable. If I was doing this and I was 20, Then I'd be like, hey, yo, we building our portfolio, whoop de whoop whoop. But it's like I'm 27 now. Was 26, 25 when this was being put together. It's like these people I respect, I admire, I want to pay them. And I also have a lot of vision, right? I'm not, because you have a lot of vision and you don't have the capacity or you're not willing to do it yourself, like you really have to honor the people who are helping you bring your vision to life. So I was really fortunate that I was able to work with people that I know. And I was like, okay, what's the rate? It's like, okay, can we bring it down?
The homie discount, yes.
No, and I think the best thing is like, because some people I wasn't able to pay because just like the amount of work that they did and for how their actual rate, it just wasn't. I wasn't able to do so. But just to know that like the network of people that I work with sincerely believe in this project.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one person who I know absolutely believes in my future success and what I'm going to be capable to do is the woman who directed the show, Belinda Mann.
Mm.
Belinda worked with me for 365 days to get the final project out. She worked with me for a whole year. We made a whole movie. So it's because the whole show was 70 minutes when I performed it. And we cut it down to 39 minutes or 10 seconds or something. And I'm just so grateful.
Yeah.
So the self-production, I mean, I did it by myself, but I did it with so many incredible artists and so many incredible people.
Mm-hmm. What did you learn about yourself through that process?
I'm really good at making things come to life. Setting a goal and then setting a timeline that makes sense and then bringing it to life.
What does your work say about you?
My work says so much about me. It's very personal. That's why when you brought up my government name and my stage name, I was like, yeah, like those that is public information. The story about my dad is public information now. My work says a lot about me personally, about my family. Family been living in Richmond for 60 years. That's personal information. And I'm happy to share those things when I think that they're serving a purpose for other people to make people better. What my work says about me is that, and this goes back to the quote from the San Francisco Chronicle about you feel like you're already friends with me. I am my friend. You feel like you're my friend because you're listening to me, talking to me when I'm typing it all out by myself and putting the color coding. I'm talking out loud to myself. This is how I talk to my first friend. My first friend is me. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're picking up on. What I like to say is if you're a fan of me, don't forget, be a fan of yourself, because I'm a fan of myself as well. And that's that on that.
Amen.
Amen on that.
So I got a few rapid fire questions that I want to ask you. Okay. You ready?
I believe so.
Okay. And you have a few seconds, but I'm not going to time you. So there we go. Okay. Favorite place to visit in Richmond?
Wildcat Canyon, the hiking trail.
Oh, nice. Oh, I got to check that out. What were you wearing when you realized you loved Beyonce?
I couldn't tell you what I was wearing, but I can tell you it was in college. And my friend, Kenya, my angel, who I've been talking about this whole interview, Kenya Lenice, right? She played one of Beyonce's like documentaries / concerts. Mind you, Beyonce has been doing documentaries and concerts about herself. So like,
that's very true.
The amount of time she's been working on this idea is years. And I was like, oh, she's different. She's different. I'm a big fan. I don't like to say I'm a stan because I don't like that term.
I'm actually, I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
From my understanding, Stan is the reference to the Eminem song, Hi, My Name is Stan. It's
Oh.
about Eminem encountering and writing to a fan who ends up being so obsessed with Eminem that he kills himself, kills his wife, and kills his baby.
Oh my God.
Because he's obsessed with Eminem.
Right. I so don't remember that in the song, but I wasn't a huge fan of Eminem. But that's interesting. I was like, I would hear people say that. I'm like, man, let me Google, because I'm at this base where I hear some young people say stuff. I got to Google it now. I'm accepting that stage. But I realized that I didn't know what that meant. So thank you for explaining that. Oh my God, that's interesting.
It's the things that we normalize that we think is cool. Like,
right.
nah, I don't want anybody to be a stan of me.
Hell no. Wow, that's deep. Last time you cried.
What day is it? It's gonna be any day this week, yo. Oh, you know what? I'll tell you, I cried yesterday because I was happy because my man made handmade cinnamon rolls.
Oh, that sounds great.
I mean, these cinnamon rolls was bomb. So the next morning, I left to go to work and I forgot to pack me some, right? I texted him, I was like, babe, like, I'm so sad. Like, I didn't pack any of the cinnamon rolls. He said, oh, that's too bad, right? So I'm like, oh, like, rude nigga answer. Like, rude. So then he calls me and he's like, babe, come outside. So I open the door at my job and he's there with the cinnamon rolls.
Aww.
I'm like, oh, yeah, so sweet.
Girl, that's a keeper right there.
I've been recently crying a lot because of happiness, which
nice.
I'm
great. That's always very therapeutic to do that. Last time you laughed?
Right now.
Yay. Favorite comedian besides yourself right now?
The person who came to my mind initially that I would love to go see live or something is Monique.
Yes.
Is
big
Monique.
Facts. Big facts.
Like I would pay if I had big money, I would pay big money to go see Monique.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Same. New and well made or old and well used?
Both.
I hear you. Recess or Hey Arnold?
I can't compare them. The gangs are too different, but I can tell you that a new show that is somewhat of a combination of those two incredible shows is a show on Cartoon Network called Craig of the Creek.
Really?
Craig of the Creek is about a young Black boy and his Black family living in Maryland, and Craig lives in front of a creek. I guess this is common in Maryland, where you just like live close to a creek and you like can go into the woods and like hang out with your friends. I don't know nothing about that. I don't know about a suburb kid. I don't know about that. But like suburb/city kid, I don't know nothing about a creek in the backyard. Yeah. But it's dope because you know how Recess had like the different gangs of kids.
They did, yes.
So that is what you see in Craig of the Creek. The gangs of kids are also hilarious. Like they're just so creative.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I gotta check that out. Thanks for
that.
Love language. Let's see. There's love language. There's 4, I believe. Let's see. Words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, or physical touch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 5.
Words of affirmation for me. Quality time. Those are my top 2. And then it goes acts of service, gift giving, and physical touch is last.
Nice. Check out Fredia and her comedy show, F is for Fredia, at yesfredia.com. That's yes, FREDIA.com. You can also catch Fredia on Instagram at yesfredia. That's yes, FREDIA. Watch episodes of this podcast on YouTube. There is always a link in the show notes. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification button. You can also listen to episodes wherever you get your podcasts. To get more content not shared anywhere else, subscribe to the email list at waypodcast.com. That's WAYPODCAST.com. Until our next conversation, I am your host, Kemi Amin.